Welcome to Feeling Seen, the podcast about the movies that make us feel seen. Today I'm joined by an actor whose new show, Suits LA, is the talk of the town. It is Lex Scott Davis. Lex got her break playing Toni Braxton in the titular Toni Braxton biopic, and her acting career has carried her through lots of different genres. From the horror film The First Purge, in which she is fantastic, to Showtime's reboot of The L Word, an icon through and through. Now on Suits LA, she stars alongside Stephen Amell as Erica Rollins, one of the lead attorneys at the high-powered, entertainment-centric firm in LA. But before all that, Lex's introduction to performing was through dance. And that's part of why she felt seen by Zoe Saldana's character, Eva, in a millennial classic, the year 2000's Center Stage. Lex Scott Davis, what else do the people need to know about you before we kick it off today?
I'm super cool and chill. Following that portfolio.
Your Suits character seems super cool, like high-powered, but super cool and chill.
Yeah. It's been so much fun tapping into this character, Erica, because I feel Lex is different from Erica in so many ways. However, there are pieces of Lex that I can identify within her. And that's kind of what I lean on and pull from. I'm trying to develop this character and figure her out. She's so interesting. And she's multifaceted too. There's I think I went into the show thinking it was going to be super hardcore drama, very serious woman. And then
Aaron Sorkin walking, talking down the hall, holding papers.
And then cut to episode 3, I'm just as silly as can be. So, and it was cool, let's lean into that. It's a different color. I didn't expect it, but also aren't we all the things, depending on who we're talking to at any given moment. We're different at work. We're different when we're talking to family, different when we're talking to friends. So I kind of just leaning into that. But yeah.
Now, I had just as far as a structural question, I was wondering if coming into a massive title like Suits that obviously had a huge, very recent resurgence of gargantuan popularity once it landed on Netflix, is there a difference in how you develop and produce projects as well? Is there a difference, in addition to being an actor, did you notice how parts come together when something that you're making is connected to a massive pre-existing entity? Does that affect notes differently? Does that affect up top input and how things are coming together? Or did it feel like it was its own sort of detached from a prior product show working on Suits LA?
A little bit of both. It's definitely, it's attached in the sense that it's the same creators, the same producers. Yeah. Even the casting director is the same. The costume designer is the same. But they definitely opened the doors for new people, new environment, new world. So for me in particular, I can only speak for myself. There wasn't too much pressure to try to live up to something. However, I did understand the magnitude of stepping into the universe and the responsibility that comes with that. And being an actor who was chosen to carry this torch, that's a huge responsibility that I don't take lightly. But I also was free flowing in that I wasn't trying to be anything that Erica didn't need to be, if that makes sense. Kind of just coming into it fresh.
Yeah.
But I do think, understanding the production side of things, I think what can be challenging and also a fun challenge, pretty amazing challenge, is stepping into the network space and trying to fit within formulas that have pre-existed since before I was even born. Right. Of what is kind of this machine that you kind of have to get in flow with. So there were things that the creators might not be used to, because when they started this was USA. It was a very different platform, different arena. They were able to curse and things like that. And so
USA's mandate was so different at the time, that era of we're doing Suits, we made Mr. Robot. There was a brief time where it was that sort of cresting of peak TV, where it was a very different universe.
Yeah, very, very different. And so now I'm watching the creator have these parameters that they have to work within because of it being in a network space, and rewriting and tweaking things so that it works for where we are, for the platform we are presently. So that's been interesting to observe as a producer. But even though I'm on this just as an actor, I'm trying to absorb and learn so much about how to navigate both sides of my brain. And I take being on set like a learning opportunity. So it's just something that is worth me kind of noting and understanding how to pivot and be able to adapt given whichever, whether it's streaming, whether it's network, whether it's cable, who your audience is, and work within that.
As an actor producer and somebody who develops and pitches their own projects, when you started pitching your own projects, did a producer voice kind of activate in your brain when the creative side of you is working to develop things that will then be pitched to like sell to people, get them to buy it? Does your business brain communicate with your creative brain sort of more intrinsically once you started coming at it from that side additionally?
Absolutely. You can't shake it. Like once you see one side, you can't unsee it. But I think it's an advantage that I can have as an actor because I'm understanding the day with producing in the back of my mind. I'm a little more understanding of what all the steps that they had to do before the actor just showed up.
Right.
I'm also understanding the crew, the level of intensity that the crew is working at all times around the clock, first to get there, last to leave. It's like I've always had respect for my crew, but now it's like a deeper level in understanding for not only the crew, but also the creatives behind the camera. And there's all these little bits and pieces that play before I show up. Now I still, again, now I'm thinking about overall story arcs now. And like, I'm thinking about all these things. So I go into deep conversations with the creator, Aaron Korsh, all the time about like, if we saw her in the pilot and we established this thing about her, let's make sure that we don't abandon that thing we established, but while sprinkling these new colors as we move forward and as we develop, like the humor, for example, and bringing back to that is trying to figure out how to like merge the two things that are the qualities about her while remembering what we did and what we already set up and established. So that's still me kind of like a producer brain that I can't help. But it's only because I care. It's only because I care and I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about collaborative. My husband always says collaborative genius, where everyone is a genius in what they do. And there's all these different departments. But when we come together and we're making the same project and we're making the same portrait, it just is how we come together and use our collective genius to achieve that goal, to achieve that ending result.
Collaborative genius is the perfect transition point into the movie that you've brought for us to discuss today, because it is truly, it can't be a one-person show. We are talking about Center Stage from the year 2000, starring Zoe Saldana as Eva Rodriguez, and that is the character that you said you really connected with in this movie. Tell me about, and you grew up a dancer. You are a trained dancer, as I understand it. You were majoring in dance in college as well. Like, tell me about the first connection with Center Stage and the experience of this movie, the Millennial classic Center Stage.
Yes. Wow, what a film, right? And it aged so well. It's really, so truly. It's so good. Because I'm the retired dancer who will say that all dance movies do not age well.
I had been meaning to watch this because my wife is a retired dancer, and she's Swedish. She'd never seen Center Stage, and so but we watched it together, and she was like, I've honestly never seen a dance movie that like did dancing better than that. And she is a tough audience with anything like that.
Exactly. Like the technical side of that movie is everything.
Développé, écarté, change to effacé, plié, tendu, lift the leg, first arabesque. Maureen, will you show us, please? Now look at Maureen's arms. They're perfectly supported from underneath, not above. Not wilting at her sides like dead chicken wings.
Oh, she's so good.
Yeah, just ask her.
So I was little. And I was part of a dance studio in my city. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And I started dance at 3 years old. and I'm the only child. When I go to this dance studio, this was my family, right? This was my extended family. Very close to a lot of the girls and boys that grew up in that dance studio. And what they had for us was the lounge, it's your area where you change. But they set it up really cool. And it was kind of like a hodgepodge furniture, random, like thrifted couches and chairs, nothing matched. But it was so cool to be in there. Like it felt like it was just so cool. And you know, even the older dancers were very like embracing the younger dancers. And it was that kind of like inner city kid vibe, cool artsy people come to hang out. And we had an old TV, like a really old TV, like the kind with the knobs on it. And we also had a VHS. So the studio owner collected movies for us to just have in our lounge. And so Center Stage was one of those movies. A lot of Michael Jackson, part of that catalog too. So I know pretty much all of his choreography from all his music videos.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Center Stage was one of those films that we had. And so that's where I first saw it, in the lounge of my dance studio.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
But it was just so inspiring because, well, where I'm from, it is very, very diverse in the sense of like, there's all types of different people in all the classes.
Right.
So it was, we were all kind of in this like, it was a rather rough part of town. But it was all kinds of people within that rough part of town that was just a product of the environment, right? So it was really cool to me to see a dance movie that had everybody in it. It reflected exactly what I was living. Like I was coming to know my peers through the arts, that it was a very diverse set of where I grew up from the dance world. And then seeing this also reflected in the film just instantly kind of connected me to it. But with Zoe's character, I identified with her so much because she had such a fierce fucking attitude.
It's a scholarship. They give them to everybody. That's the only way they can get people to go.
When you gonna start?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'm not gonna go.
What are you talking about? What are you gonna do instead?
There's that new Hooters opening. I could work there.
As what though?
You do not have the rack.
I'll get implants.
She had an attitude about everything. And I was that girl who had an attitude specifically toward ballet. I was very like anti-ballet. And you have to learn it. Obviously, that is the foundation for all dance. You have to learn it. But I was that girl who was just like, oh, get me to hip hop class, get me to tap, get me to jazz, get me to modern. But please, this ballet, please, like just get it out of my face. And she was that, but she was super talented at the same time. And that was me. Like I was really good. And I'm not trying to flex or anything, but like, I was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was one of the, every time I moved up a level, I was always one of the top kids to move, to be like showcased in the front. I also was kind of short, so I was in the front. Maybe I wasn't that good. Maybe I was just short. They put me in the front because of that. But no, from what I recall, I was pretty good, but I was just very resistant to learning the classic, to understanding the French that comes with ballet. And my teachers were very strict. They had been alums from one of the biggest art schools in the city, which is Baltimore School for the Arts. So they were alums out of there. Very affluent approach to the language, to the ballet. So they would be the kind that would sit there and like just tell you what to do. And you're supposed to know what they are talking about.
Yeah. And
I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was very, I had all the learning disabilities, right? So I was very much a visual learner. So not until someone did it in front of me, I was able to mimic it. So I think the little piece of being insecure about my learning disability is probably why I didn't love ballet so much, because it was such a language barrier for me to understand. And just the structure of like someone sitting there yelling at you what to do and how to move. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So I was also a little bit insecure about that as well.
All right, ladies, we'll start with our pliés. First position, demi and stretch, demi and stretch, full grand plié, and return, port de bras forward, full port de bras back, The same in second, fourth, and fifth positions, and then we'll rise and take a balance in fifth. Yes? Let's begin.
But that attitude kind of came up as opposed to just being honest and like speaking to the teachers and saying like, hey, I actually don't understand it when you say this, or, you know, I just was pissed off all the time. I was hard on myself. I was mad at the environment. Like, it was just something I always got hung up on. And so when I watched the movie, just seeing the brown girl in ballet class with the attitude, I'm like, yes, she gets me. That is me. That is so me.
The movie opens with people auditioning to go to the American Ballet Academy, and we meet like Zoe's character, and she's walking out of like the building where she's auditioned, and she like meets up with her friend, and she's basically like, oh God, and he's like, what, you didn't get it? She's like, oh, no, I did. I don't even know if I'll go.
Hey, what happened? They didn't take you?
No.
What? No? Those bastards.
No, they didn't. No, they did.
Like, this is clearly like she's good enough and practiced enough to have got to this level where she would be picked for this thing. And she's like, oh, I can't believe they picked me. And just like so inconvenienced by the fact that they did. But of course she's gonna do it. And she never betrays that she's not passionate about this thing, but it feels like a self-defense that she has to sort of keep what it means to her at a distance, because it's like dangerous for her to care about something so much as that.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, like when that attitude, when you're young, at least, and that attitude seemingly comes out of nowhere, but it's rooted in so much other stuff. It's funny that we go through that and we put our poor parents through that too. Well, but yeah, like that was so me. And even when I went to eventually, when it was time to audition for the School of the Arts, I remember that audition like it was yesterday. I killed it in modern. I killed it in the modern based dance. But then it was time for ballet, and it was time to put on pointe shoes. And I was just I was so resistant, but they didn't know that I had this whole time been training in regular flat ballet shoes. I didn't want to do pointe because, again, I'm the anti. And so I kind of bombed the ballet audition. And I had an attitude on top of that. And because my teachers were alums from that school, they talked to the jury, and the jury was like, she's really good, but she just has this attitude. And so cut to, I didn't get into the school. And I was devastated. I was devastated because it just made sense for me to go there.
Was it a surprise to you that you were devastated with like the feelings that you had that were so bad? Like, was it like, did you understand those feelings when you had them? Like that it was like, no, this is awful. Like, I just thought I was going to go. Or were you like, did that make sense to you at the time?
I knew that I had gotten my own way with ballet, with being classical. I knew that I got in my own way. And I also wasn't aware of the learning disability until later. And so it all started to make sense after I ended up going to the school that I did go to. And they were the ones who kind of was like, you're dyslexic, you have ADHD, you have all the things, which I don't necessarily identify with now. I think that just makes me a really cool artist. I don't think it's anything wrong. But you know, so the me getting in my own way out of fear of embarrassment and that showing up as anger definitely rubbed them the wrong way. But you know, you live and you learn.
Well, I was reading like obviously like interviews that you've done about Suits since that started very recently. It's a brand new show, and you were talking about like, you know, you said it earlier in this conversation, you're like, Lex and Erica were not the same person, but you were talking in an interview about like things that you did relate to her about, and you said that you related to her confidence in herself and her dedication and her discipline, and that she feels like she deserves a real shot at this like this role she's pursuing. She wants to be the head of entertainment at this company, which escalates very quickly into a different kind of role as even episode 2 sets in. But so reading that, it was like, okay, so there was like this identification point with you now with this character Erica of like this belief in herself. And then you're watching this movie when you're little and like you're relating to the most sort of like voraciously confident one who will just walk into any room and kind of like badmouth the director of the American Ballet Theater, where he snaps at her and he like gives like somebody kind of like redresses her. Like, that's not really appropriate. She's like, whatever, and just walks out of the room.
Excellent, Eva. Where's the turnout, Jody? After everything we've talked about, I'm not seeing it. You understand what I'm saying? Use what you have and turn out.
Jesus, she heard you.
Excuse me?
She heard you. We all heard you. You don't have to speak to her like that. Anyone can see she's working her ass off.
That's enough, Miss Rodriguez. This is my classroom, and I will run it as I see fit. If you have a problem with that, you are free to leave.
She's chewing gum in class. Somebody says there's no gum allowed. She just swallows that gum on the spot and stares that teacher right in the eye. So this seems like she's so good. It's a tremendous performance by now Academy Award winner Zoe Saldana. And so is that a confidence that you have connected with your entire life? Is that always something that you have carried in you, even when you were small?
Could I call it confidence? Not sure.
Okay.
But I always did kind of march to the beat of my own drum.
Okay.
And I'd say, and I struggle with calling it confidence because I feel like I didn't find my confidence until much later in life.
Okay.
But I was kind of like, I didn't necessarily follow anyone, if that makes sense. Like I kind of did my own thing. And sometimes I was like part of a popular group. Sometimes I was defending the unpopular group because I had that need to like protect people. So it's like you couple that with the attitude, you couple that with like trying to protect people and take up for people who have a smaller voice. I've had that for as long as I can remember. But there were a lot of times where I was also shy. So like where dance carried me through, I was kind of stage fright for a long time. And then eventually like I was like, okay, I can do this. But then when it came time to start incorporating my voice on stage, I was like, oh, wait a second. I don't want to talk. I don't want to read out loud. I don't want to talk. I don't like, so things like that, I was kind of like in my shell. But yeah, I think with age, as time went on, I definitely developed a voice. And now I feel like I own my voice, even in my shortcomings. Like I kind of own that too. Like if you don't know it, you don't know it. Just ask a question. And I think so much of my life, I was, fearful of asking a question and people would laugh at it. And, you don't grow that way. And so now it's just a different approach to navigating life, navigating people, being in new rooms and having conversations with people I probably would never thought I'd have conversations with many years ago. And so, just kind of leaning into that. And Erica is extremely, extremely confident, which is helpful to me now. It's like I can understand that confidence now, where I'm able to lean into that for her. I also love that she's kind of blunt. She doesn't really hold anything back, which is really awesome. Like I wish Lex was confident enough to like just be blunt, but I'm not. I tend to beat around the bush sometimes. But I'm leaning into all of those qualities that I've kind of gained with life experiences for her.
It's time for a break, but we will be back with more from Lex. Plus, it is time to finally commemorate Stunts at the Oscars, and we will talk about it at the end of the show.
Hi, is this Kelly?
Yes, this is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. This is Jesse Thorne, co-host of Jordan Jesse Go.
Hi, Jesse.
I'm calling because you were just named Max Fun's Member of the Month for April.
Oh, wow. This is so surreal.
How long have you been a Jordan Jesse Go listener?
Probably 8 years. I actually saw you guys at the Bell House in Brooklyn in 2019.
Was seeing us the reason that you started listening to the show?
I don't know. I had been listening for a while.
Why did you end up becoming a member?
It's really just been such a dependable source of laughter and joy and comfort. I just appreciate that, and I didn't want to take it for granted. So I wanted to contribute and show my support because I don't want it to ever end.
Kelly, thank you so much for talking with me, and thank you so much for being a member of Max Fun.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's totally worth it.
If you're a Max Fun member, you can become the next Max Fun member of the month. Support us at MaximumFun.org/join.
This season on The Adventure Zone, Abnormals. Get ready for a brand new crime-fighting trio, here to protect the anthropomorphic muscular animal citizens of River City. Featuring Justin McElroy as Axolile, the firefighting axolotl. Clint McElroy as Roger Moore, the debonair cow of mystery. Griffin McElroy as Navy SEAL, the raw seal that has never served in the armed forces. And Travis McElroy as every other swole critter in River City. This swear-free Saturday morning cartoon-inspired story airs every Thursday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
You went from dance into acting. It sounds like you had kind of decided, like, I kind of hit my ceiling on this, and like I wasn't growing in a way that I wanted to anymore. And but you wanted to continue performing. So I wanted to know about what performing does for you, and like what it meant to you to want to keep doing it in some form, and then finding this new outlet.
Right. So there were so many things that kind of went into my decision to being done with dance. It's tricky because I feel like we're always presented paths, and you're just like, which one do I choose? And the one that I chose, in terms of the school that I chose, the university I chose, I don't know if it was the strongest dance institution. But what it did do for me was develop my artist brain. It made me a stronger artist. And someone who can see a stage and start to, because I started choreographing while in college too, as part of the curriculum, but kind of like understanding composition, understanding lines, understanding light, understanding sound, all of these like production elements that went into choreographing a piece.
Yeah.
And so like the theatrics of it all kind of filled up for me in my experience when I was in university. But, you know, kind of just leading with being an inspiration, like what Zoe was for me as an actress and a dancer wrapped up in one. I identified with that. Like that seemed like something that I could achieve with performance and being on camera. I didn't realize I wanted to be an actor until I was going through all of this in college. I didn't realize that was what my calling was. But I did have to drop out. I had to drop out of the university I was in for so many reasons. But I wasn't thriving in dance. I was having a difficult time with the academics. And I just wasn't really like compelled to show up.
Yeah.
I've always kind of challenged the system a little bit. Like, why am I learning this? This has nothing to do with me being an adult in the world. So I did challenge the system a little bit. And so you couple that with, you know, finances were really tough.
For sure.
So I ended up having to give that up. And I moved back to Baltimore. I ended up doing hair for my aunt. I worked as her shampoo girl and saved enough money to move myself to New York. And then that's where I started New York Film Academy, and I was acting for film program at New York Film Academy. But that's kind of how I pivot and got into that.
How was that when you first started getting like screen projects? Like, how did that feel?
Oh, well, magical. It felt
so great.
Very surreal because also there's no one in my family who does this.
Right. Yeah.
I had an aunt who, this is very different from what we're talking about, but I had an aunt who was a video vixen.
Oh, damn. Wow.
In the 90s and the early 2000s. And so.
What an icon.
She was, I know, and still kind of is. She was the only person I knew on TV.
Right.
And when we saw her in a video, I was like, oh my God. it just felt like this thing that was just so far removed from reality. Eventually, when I was done at New York Film Academy's program in New York, I tried my hand in New York when I graduated the program. It was awful. Like, I didn't get anywhere. I did not get anywhere. It was awful. I remember like a casting director. I was like, I don't know. I went in there to be an extra, and he threw my headshot and resume in my face. I wish I remembered the dude's name. I know. It was like this old white man threw my paperwork in my face. Like, I never forget. But that's New York, right? New York is just hardcore. Okay. It's fine. But when it just wasn't working, I was like, I have nothing to lose. I had 2 friends who lived in LA at the time, also from where I'm from. One was a dancer, one was a photographer. And they're like, come visit. You're not doing anything. And I'm like,
it's
all
nice
right, whatever.
Here.
Yeah. But at that time, I had tried so much. Like, I had tried to do things for my career, whether it was modeling, whether it was dancing, now trying to step into casting offices. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to go and just wing it. I'm going to go with an objective. And what I did when I visit my friend, my photographer friend, took me to a bookstore. I think it's called Samuel French. Took me to a bookstore in LA. And they had pretty much like a catalog of agents and managers that were like real legit. Because I've also had my fair share of like not legit managers saying they're managers.
For sure.
On the East Coast. And so I got this book and I went through and highlighted everyone who was taking submissions. There were some that don't, like CAA, which is where I am now, but then there were some that do.
Yeah.
And so I'm highlighting, okay, like what's realistic and who could I approach? So when it was time for me to move, I had this list of who I'm going to submit my stuff to. I had headshots, of course. I had some like student film projects I did at New York Film Academy, like all the things packaged together, ready to send out. And that's kind of what I did. And then I found my manager, who is still my manager till this day, Genevieve Penn, and I will never leave her side.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
I found her because there was like some advertisement on Backstage website of a workshop for managers. And I looked at the panel. It was 5 people showing up. I looked at the panel. I looked at their companies, and I referred to my book and looked up if that company was real or not in this book.
Good for you. Cross-reference.
They were legit. So I begged my dad for some money to let me like submit to this thing. I feel like it's like $100. I don't know. Which is also kind of like, are you guys scamming all these people? Because it was like hundreds of people.
Right.
And hundreds of people showing up, paying money to be there. And what you had to do is just perform a monologue. And so I had a monologue in my back pocket from school. And again, because I'm a little stage fright, I waited to go last. I waited to go. And it was in front of everyone. So once I sat in the back, I kind of peeked and made sure like everyone went. I'm like, okay, I think that's it. Okay, now it's my time to go. After like, I don't know, it was probably like, I don't know how many people were in this room. And so I go, I perform my monologue in front of the 5 people. One of them was my manager. And then afterward, because we're done, I was literally the last person. So I was like, all right, we'll wrap that up. And I was waiting for my lift at the time. I was taking Lyft when I first moved here. And so killing time, waiting for my lift to go to the restroom, come out, washing my hands. And this is like a scene out of a movie. Washing my hands. She comes up, washes her hands. And it was like this intense mirror conversation. She's like, don't let anyone contact you. I'm going to be calling you. I was like, okay.
Like, is the room bugged? Like, oh God.
It was so cool. I was like, okay. Cut to next week. She's the only one who called me from the panel.
Because she was the one who was supposed to call you.
Yeah, exactly. And so she called, brings me in for a meeting. She was at Luber Rockland at the time. And I signed with them and been rocking with her ever since. And within, I want to say the first few months, definitely within the first year of being with Genevieve is when I booked Toni Braxton. And that's, the start of all of it for me. And I didn't even, that project was a whirlwind. Like I was so couldn't believe that I was chosen. That's
wild.
I just couldn't believe it because I was very like, what? You sure? Me?
Yeah.
Really?
Tony Braxton?
Sing. Are you sure? What is life right now? Like, I can't wait to tell my parents what's going on. This is insane.
Hello?
Tony.
Yes, this is Tony.
Tony, how you doing? It's L.A. Reid from LaFace Records.
Mikey, stop playing on the phone.
Tony, this is really me. This is really L.A. Reid. How you doing?
I'm sorry, sir. I thought you were my brother.
No, that's okay. That's quite all right. Listen, Tony, I'll jump right into it. Babyface and I were really impressed with your audition the other night, and we would like to offer you a recording contract with LaFace Records. How's that sound?
Thank you, sir. Oh, my God. My sisters and I are going to be so excited.
Tony,
Yes, sir?
sorry, so sorry. Listen, the only thing is we only want to sign you, not the Braxton sisters.
Wait, what?
So that's my intro to being an actor.
Great intro.
Crazy.
And you talking about your manager and the way that she stepped forward for you and saw something there. And you talked a little bit earlier about having that sense of wanting to like stand for people who might not be as capable to stand for themselves. And that is something too, like that's absolutely a part of Zoe Saldana's character. It's a part of Eva in Center Stage. And this is such like the industry that you're in is such one that like demands one have an ability to do that for themselves, which is hard enough. And at times can put somebody with those abilities in the position of needing to stand for others as well. And I wanted to hear about that sense that you have in yourself and how it has worked in this industry that can be really challenging at times in assailing people's convictions, assailing people's like notion of what they thought of themselves or what their capacities were. Like that's a hard thing to balance when you're new and coming up, let alone when you're established.
Yeah, I can honestly say like my parents did all right with making sure I had a good head on my shoulders and having like that spirit of discernment, like knowing when something is right and knowing when something is just not right. And in an industry like we are, and again, like I kind of was like hustling my way through all of these different avenues, trying to figure it out. So I definitely ran into my fair share of like uncomfortable people, uncomfortable conversations, and like, how did I save myself from what could have been a path that was just not good? And also seeing in friends and other girlfriends, or either even peers of girls I met throughout my time of like trying to model or whatever, and giving them the heads up about like, hey, don't go down that path. You know what I mean? Or like, I've always kind of just been that person of like wanting to look out for people, obviously myself included, but you know, like how I can also help with like, we're all in this together. Like it can be a weird industry to navigate, but it doesn't have to be. And so like figuring out, you know, I
think that's the most infuriating part about it, is that it doesn't have to be. It has been in so many ways, and it has been at so many times, but like it doesn't actually have to be. So let's just fucking stop it. What if we all just opted into this being better, man?
Yeah, exactly. Like just choosing to be a good person. Mm-hmm. It's not hard, you know, and choosing to be genuine too. Like, do what you say what you mean. And even if that's like, no, I don't like this, do that. I love the honesty, because then what you do, if you're not honest, then you're setting people up with this false dream, this false sense of something. And when you wasted their time, they could have been doing something else to get them closer to what they're trying to achieve. This business does not have to be gross and tricky and hard to navigate. It really doesn't have to be. But it is like trusting your instincts too. A lot of that is trusting your instincts, reading subtext, reading beneath the line, and kind of just being able to navigate for yourself and trust your gut of like, is this good? I don't know, maybe not. Let's pivot. Let's find a different avenue.
I guess I wanted to ask you about like with like sort of having acting sort of taking you by surprise, in that like you had this like path of dance, and that was what you did for so long. And then it was like, I didn't actually know I wanted to act until I started veering in toward it. Then you get into you go to New York and you start working, you start getting these jobs, you come out here and it kind of ramps up quickly. Like you get representation and you're really steadily employed, and then you're developing, it has been a great like sort of linear progression. It seems like once like the momentum kicked in. And what I wanted to hear from that is as you amass like the combination of sort of like confidence and skills and toolkits and like support over time, what do you feel empowered to do now as a professional that at the like compared to when it was like acting's a career I could do? Like where is that now in terms of like how is your possibility map opened up for what is next compared to not even conceiving of an acting career at one time?
Yeah, I think the producing is and the directing has opened up such a new can of worms for me too, because before the goal was the acting, and it still is. I still have a desire to be in front of the camera, but now it's like, well, what kind of stories can I develop? What kind of stories do I want to tell? And will I be part of those stories or not? Like I think the freedom and the flexibility to have creative say and creative control is really appealing and to me. That I'm excited to go down that path, because the just being an actor can be wonderful. It's fine. It's dandy. Personally, I want a little more. I do want a little more of a voice in the creative conversations, which actors don't necessarily have. And just depends. And so producing things that I could attach myself in is the next step and the next goal of all of this. Everything I've produced so far, I'm not in. And so figuring out how I can merge two worlds, and then just set it up from the beginning. I love being part of like all the beginning workings of an idea. And like, I love it so much. And again, you're really creating and crafting this beautiful painting and being able to pull all these different geniuses in their own right and putting them together, and let's like all make something, and let's be this community, and let's just grow together and uplift each other and support each other. Like I'm very big on it's bigger than just me. Like I want to bring people in and bring people together. That's where the passion is going towards nowadays. Obviously I still love just being handed a script. Cool. That's easy for me. Hand me the script. I'll do my one job. But you know, I'm finding it to be more fulfilling when I can be part of making dreams come true for other people too.
Collaborative genius. Well, thank you so much for your time, Lex. Lex Scott Davis, Suits LA, out now. You can be watching the first season. And thank you so much for coming and talking to all of us about this, and for bringing center stage into the feeling scene canon. A necessary move.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful, and a lovely trip down memory lane for me too.
Such a big thank you to Lex Scott Davis. Suits LA airs Sunday nights on NBC, and now that is something that we have never said before on this show. Welcome back, linear television. But you can also catch it on Peacock as well if you are a tried and true streamer. There are still a few more episodes before the season finale, so you can get caught up before it airs. And now that one quick thing before I go. A We Did It Joe is in order, and by we, I mean Action Twitter? And like, are they singularly responsible for the development? No, but they are the vital grassroots organ of the campaign that has been waged for years now by industry professionals, fans, journalists alike to get Stunts recognized by the Academy Awards on Oscars' biggest night, on Hollywood's biggest night. There will now be, I believe, starting with the 2027 ceremony, an Oscar handed out for Best Stunt Design. This is massive, you guys. It has been years in the making. Filmmakers like Chad Stahelski, you know, the big guy behind the John Wick movies, he has been toiling away behind the scenes, working with the Academy to finally get this implemented, along with many more people who've been making the case for ages. And we would be remiss if we did not give the biggest of shouts out and gratitude to Vulture's annual Stunt Awards that it has been doing for a handful of years now, that has really been the highest profile sort of media stand-in for an area where the Academy was truly falling short, honoring vital professionals in the film community. That effort has been led every year by the writers Bilge Ebiri and especially Brandon Strusnig, who comes on, spearheads the package, and coordinates a massive effort to pull the Stunt Awards together every year underneath the overseeing leadership of editor Katie Brooks. And that format has really drawn a kind of attention to the stunt community from a really big blue chip publication. And it has been a kind of rallying point for professionals within the industry to have a big hub that really recognizes their work. And it's not the Oscars, but it's been a great thing. And now, you know what? There is going to be an Oscars. There's going to be a stunt design Oscar handed out, but that will be a compliment to the works like the Vulture package every year, because they're, what is one expected to do? Simply have one Oscar handed out for stunt design when you still have to honor things like best fire stunt, best aerial stunt, best stunt not in an action movie, best fight. The granular detail still needs to be hashed out by institutions pulling together massive amounts of journalists and professionals to hand out these vital awards. But the crown jewel can finally be bestowed upon the stunt community as well. So let's hope Jackie Chan receives his Lifetime Achievement Oscar sometime in the next few years. And that is our show. We did it. Stunts for Oscars. We did it. Lex Scott Davis. Here we are. Who would have thought? Not us. And you can keep up with us wherever you get your podcasts. So hit that follow button. As they say, smash that follow button wherever you're listening to get a new episode in your feed as soon as it populates every week. Follow us to find out more on Instagram at Feeling Seen Pod. We are also on Blue Sky, me and Feeling Seen. So just search either the show, Feeling Seen, or me, JORCRU, Jorcrew. I am Blue Sky and Twitter. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. This episode is produced by Danielle Huesias and Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported directly
by you.